This week on Motor Week, Chris Goffey pitches the Skoda Octavia against the VW Bora. Ken Gibson drives the latest MR2, Ginny Buckley goes off-roading in the Jeep Cherokee, and I check out the latest Suzuki, the Wagon R. A glamorous location for the launch of an important car. In fact, Japan's best-selling car for 3 years running. It's the Suzuki Wagon R. Or shouldn't that be the Wagon R? Well, no. This is the new version. It has been thoroughly revised, so gone are those rather quirky Japanese boxy looks that really were lost in the translation. And we get this, a rounded, more European version. It's really rather cute. More, in fact, of a Wagon R. Thanks to the really surprisingly lofty driving position and a quite surprisingly high standard of fit and finish in here, it feels a lot more substantial than you might expect from first looking at it. And all that acreage of window and glass might make it look like something more suitable for growing tomatoes, but actually means there's no shortage of visibility to peer around you. Unfortunately, it also means you can be seen rather easily. Despite its tall and narrow appearance, the drive is not all rock and roll. It's really quite comfortable. The gearbox is precise and accurate, the engine willing, and the handling quite rewarding. This is crazy! I'm driving around Monte Carlo, one of the glamour capitals of the world, in this! There's people out there in Ferraris. It's embarrassing. Could be the Wagon. Oh. It's the result of collaboration between Suzuki and GM, with the Vauxhall version being badged Aguila. The European influence is clear to see. Some of the wackier elements of the design have gone, and that includes the ridiculous towel rail boot handle, now replaced with a far more sensible item. Because we see so few of them in the UK, it's easy to forget just how popular the Suzuki Wagon R is on a worldwide scale. In actual fact, they've sold over 1.5 million of them. And that's a lot of R's sold. It may be small, but it's strong. Both safety and security have been enhanced. There's now an immobiliser and double door locks, so there's no danger of getting your arse swiped. It's not without its faults though. Whilst the rear headroom was designed around the giraffe, I think the rear legroom is aimed more at the gerbil. Wagon R. However, if you can forget its links with its lunatic predecessor, then I think the new look is genuinely quite appealing, which will make Suzuki doubly pleased because they've announced that last year they smashed through the magical 1% share barrier when it comes to market sales in the UK. Wagon hurrah! Anyway, my boat's waiting, so wagon hurrah.
It's all very well producing an off-roader that looks the part, but if in reality it's nothing more than a King's Road cruiser that won't even cut through the skin of your custard, then what's the point? But if you've got this badge on the front of your 4x4, it's a pretty safe bet that you can get into some serious mischief in it, particularly when you've got the whole of the Scottish Highlands to go at. Well, I've got my Grand Cherokee, it's got all the technology and it's time to put it to the test. There's an off-road course in the Scottish Highlands waiting for me, but before I put a £30,000 brand new vehicle through that, maybe I should get a few tips from the experts first.
Well, the first tip is to be very careful. We're going to be driving through some very narrow sections of road. We've got some steep uphills and downhills. And obviously with a vehicle like this, you've got a lot of power there, a lot of traction, especially with the new quad drive system. So you do need to be careful.
Well, it sounds like the Cherokee is certainly up for it. I suppose it's time to see if I can handle it. One of the rules in off-roading is that when you go down a hill, you don't use the brakes. They're very strict on this. However, this hill is so bad that they've told us we have to use the brakes this time. Can't wait for this one.
I can't believe we're going to go down that. We're going to go straight into the lock. I must be mad. Oh! Oh, God, have you seen that thing go?
Oh, it's easy, really, I think. Well, it was a struggle to get up here, but once you're at the top, I've got to say the views are absolutely spectacular. And I've just learnt a survival tip. If you get stranded in the wilderness without any toilet paper, just grab a handful of moss. That was absolutely amazing. I've had such a good time up there. And I'd like to say that it's my driving skill that's got me through it all. But I've got to be honest and say that when you're in a vehicle like the new Grand Cherokee, all you really need to do is put your trust in the vehicle and just keep an eye on where you're going. This is just so competent. Now, I know that 93% of off-roaders never see more than the odd trundle up a country lane or maybe the school run. But if you fancy finding out what an off-roader can really do, then I can report that the Grand Cherokee performs as well on-road as it does off. Go on, go and find yourself some mud. You don't know what you're missing.
It's a simple idea. Design yourself a common floor pan and then base lots of different models on that floor pan and you save yourself loads of money. Well, that's what the Volkswagen Group have done. They developed a chassis and powertrain which is underneath the new Golf, the Audi A3, the new Volkswagen Bora and the Skoda Octavia. But just how different in character and performance and appeal can two cars be when they share the same underpinnings? Let's find out. Our protagonists in this lineup are the top of the Bora range, the V5, a smooth 150 brake horsepower executive express, and what Skoda call the top of their range, the Octavia, but fitted with the 1.8 litre turbocharged petrol engine. It's an interesting comparison because both engines develop the same maximum power, 150 brake horsepower in both cases, but it's the way the engines deliver that performance that makes them rather different. As a car manufacturer, it's very difficult to shed an image once it's become established in the buyer's minds. Now take this car. I turned up the other day and somebody said, "What are you driving?" I said, "I'm driving a Skoda Octavia." And they smiled at me. Why did they smile? They remembered those dreadful old Jasper Carrot jokes, because Skoda very definitely is no joke anymore. It's built by the Volkswagen Group to the same standards as Audi and other Volkswagen cars. You don't normally associate Skoda with the image of sportiness, but with this 1.8 turbo engine, well, it's definitely all of that. When the turbo comes in, the car really flies. It's like a Volkswagen Golf GTI in feel, and it delivers the power in a very different way to the Bora. The V5 develops exactly the same 150 brake horsepower, but it's a much smoother unit. It gets the feeling of the iron fist in the velvet glove, whereas this is out and out rorty-torty wheel spinning performance. As you'd expect for a car based on the Golf platform, if it wasn't for the Skoda badge in the centre of the steering wheel here, well, you'd be hard-pressed to tell which car in the range you were driving. Certainly, it feels no different to the Bora on the road. Perhaps a little bit more road noise. That might be a function of the hatchback body, and there's a little bit more boom, and certainly more road noise transmitted from the rear wheels than you find in the Bora or in the Audi. Again, they're more expensive cars, so perhaps they've got a bit more sound deadening material in the shell. It's fascinating to see how two design teams tackle the job of engineering the body shells of these two cars. Volkswagen engineers took rather a different line at the top of the doors. Skoda have come down, you'll see, and Skoda has gone for a much more steeply sloping rear window and a hatchback. Gives you a huge space inside the boot, but Bora has similar dimensions but a very narrow boot lid, so it's actually quite difficult to get into. I think of the two, I prefer the hatchback. This is the top of the range car, and it comes with these rather good alloy wheels and leather upholstery as standard. £17,299. Not cheap, but perhaps more effective is the bottom of the range entry-level model, which is just £11,299, and you get most of this. So how does Volkswagen tackle the same chassis? Lighter and airier in the Bora, thanks to the choice of light-coloured materials on door trims and carpets and headlining, but that's obviously a matter of specification of choosing the colours you want inside the car. Nice little touches like the fake wood trim on the doors, on the fascia and the gear knob add to the image of an executive express. Ride and handling feel very much the same. If anything, the Bora feels slightly softer. I don't know if they've got softer spring rates in here than they have in the Skoda, but slightly more float to the car than the Octavia. A feature of the common platform is that both cars have literally enormous boots. As we've mentioned, different ways of accessing them. But given the choice, I would prefer slightly smaller boots in both cars and a bit more rear legroom, because that's what's missing. There's really not a lot to choose between the two cars, and that's a compliment to Skoda, evinced by their huge success in the European and UK market since the Volkswagen takeover. Volkswagen dealers tell us that the Bora isn't exactly setting the world on fire from a sales point of view, and no big surprise there either, because its predecessors, the Jetta and the Vento, were always sold far less than the hatchback Golf. Really, the choice between the two comes down to which engines do you want, which interior trim, and what extras you're going to specify. But whichever way you build your car, the Skoda's going to save you at least £1,000, if not a lot more. And that's the most compelling argument of all.
If you're a true sports car fan, I'll bet you dreamt of owning a Porsche. Big problem with Porsches though, £35,000 minimum price tag, and that's for the baby Boxster. Now what the world's been waiting for is a cheap, affordable sports car, a poor man's Porsche that looks the part, drives the part, but costs half the price. Toyota think they've come up with the answer. The MR is £18,500, looks the business, let's see if it drives the business. Toyota are pushing the fun factor big time with the MR, and first impressions are really good. It's one of those cars that you can jump straight into and just drive off and immediately feel comfortable with. It's also remarkably nimble. It shows all the features of a classic mid-engine car, You can really chuck it into the bends there. It responds very, very accurately to the steering, which is precise, light, but you get a good, accurate feel back from it. Although Toyota are pushing the fact that it's not a really hot car for performance, it's only got a 1.8 litre engine, so you wouldn't expect that. It is actually pretty impressive. You're talking 0 to 62 in 7.9 seconds, top speed of 130, but what I really like is it's got bags of torque. It goes all the way through the rev range, and it really is responsive whether you're going around town or once you get on a demanding, twisting country road. We're now hitting some wonderfully twisty bits, and I have to say, the boys from Toyota are spot on. This really is a hoot to drive. Back end actually comes out a little bit in true sports car style if you overcook it, but it's actually very, very easy to get back in line. The other great thing is that Toyota have used their sports car experience to the full. They've given the MR one of the longest wheelbases in its class, even though it's actually not a very big car. And with all the other dimensions, Toyota really have succeeded in putting together a very clever little package. This is a genuine sports car. It's not for the guys that want really hairy performance, but there again, they're going to be paying a small fortune to get that. Economy is not normally a strong point with sports cars, but the MR is surprisingly economical. It'll return you about 38 mpg overall, which is pretty impressive. The exterior really is simply a very cheeky Porsche Boxster rip-off, but in a funny way, it works. This is still a classy little sports car. The interior is a bit more copycat, with shades of the Audi TT, with mock aluminium handles and drilled pedals, but it all has a rather cheap feel and look about it, which is a bit of a pity really. Unlike the majority of mid-engine cars, the MR has no boot, and that's its one big failing. There is enough room under the bonnet for a small hold all, but that's basically enough for a change of clothing, and that's your lot. The Toyota MR shouldn't really surprise anyone. The boys from Toyota are on a serious styling roll. They've gone all bold and funky with cars like the Yaris and the Celica. And it's paying off as well. In the first 2 months of the year, they're the fastest growing car maker in Europe. And I'm confident that this car is going to give them even more sales. If it's not exactly a Boxster, it is very much a genuine and, importantly, affordable sports car. And I think this cheeky little chappie is going to see them getting a lot more sales.
Faced with fierce competition from its small car rivals, Ford have decided it's time to freshen up the Fiesta and give it, well, a slightly new look for the Millennium, but without taking away the basic characteristics of the car. Now, with the new kids on the block, the likes of the Toyota Yaris, the Fiat Punto, which is already outselling the Fiesta in parts of Europe, and the Renault Clio, Ford have given the Fiesta its house style. Yes, it gets new edge design styling. If you're mystified as to why the new Fiesta didn't get the 1.7 engine instead of the 1.6 engine, well, it's because Ford didn't want the Fiesta treading on the toes of the Puma. You see, the 1.4 Puma has 88 brake horsepower, the 1.7 125, and this new S engine kind of fits nicely in the middle with 103 brake horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in just over 10 seconds and a top speed of 113 miles an hour. Revisions inside the Fiesta are quite frankly very minor. In fact, looking at this now, you can see very little difference from the outgoing model.
but it does look a bit better, and it's very well put together and very well built, with a look of the Puma inside, but just doesn't have the je ne sais quoi and the style of the Renault Clio interior. There's also the option of head and chest side airbags, which is apparently a first for a car of this size. One thing it doesn't have, which is very annoying, is a switch inside the car to open the boot. You always have to use the key, and that really gets on your nerves. At the front end of the car, well, as you can see, it's been given Ford's new Edge design headlights. It gets a new bonnet, new wings and new bumpers. It's almost like the Fiesta's gone into a hairdresser's and asked for a new Edge design perm, and it's gone slightly wrong. And at the back, well, again, very little has changed. It gets this cheap fuel flap, which looks like it's going to fall off, an extra spoiler, and it seems to have grown some bulby bits, which look like a pair of breasts at some angles. I thought new Edge design was all about sharp, angly points. That certainly isn't. The new Fiesta lineup now consists of the 1.25 and 1.4 Zetec engines, plus the base 1.3 Endura E and 1.8 litre diesel. You can choose from 5 trim levels: Encore, Finesse, Zetec, LX and Gear, plus the new S. Now, if you're in the market for a small car, well, there are lots to choose from. They're all very different, but all very competent. So have Ford hit the right note with the new Fiesta? Well, it's more a revamp than anything else in response to the likes of the new Clio and the new Fiat Punto. The Fiesta has always been a very entertaining car to drive, and still is. It's probably the best of the bunch for that, despite having any real potent engines in the range apart from the new 1.6 Zetec S. I think you'll either love or hate the new Fiesta. I personally like it. Or you'll take so long to make up your mind over whether you like the car that you'll buy something completely different.
Join us next week on Motor Week when Chris Goffey drives the latest Mazda 626 and Ginny Buckley takes on the Rubicon Trail, one of the most challenging off-road events in the calendar.